The sunlight spilled into our living room, casting playful shadows on the wall as I settled onto the couch with Ella's latest creation. She adored scrapbooking, and every page was a testament to her meticulous care and creativity, a collage of our memories, lovingly pieced together. I smiled, flipping through the pages, pausing to linger on a photo from our trip to Maui, the breeze almost palpable through the vivid colors. The page turned, and my heart paused, a photo of Ella, not with me, but with another man. They were at the park, his arm snug around her shoulders, both radiating joy. An old friend perhaps, I mused, trying to brush off a gnawing feeling. But as the pages turned, the pattern was undeniable. There he was again, this time closer, his hand resting a bit too low on her back at some friend's wedding. "Ella," I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. She walked in, her eyes lighting up as she saw the scrapbook in my hands. "Do you like it?" "I spent all week on it," she beamed, settling beside me. "It's beautiful." "Really detailed," I said, my fingers brushing over the glossy photos as I steadied myself. "Who's this?" I asked casually, pointing to the man. "Oh, that's just Tom from work. You remember him, right?" Her voice was too casual, her smile forced. I flipped the page, showing another photo, this one of them at a cafe, their laughter captured in the frozen moment. "Seems like you've been seeing a lot of Tom." Her smile faltered, her eyes darting away. "It's not what it looks like, Mark. But it looks like betrayal, Ella." The words were out before I could stop them, each one tasting bitter. She opened her mouth, then closed it, her complexion pale. "Mark, I stood up, the scrapbook slipping from my lap to the floor, the pages splaying open like the scattered pieces of our life. "How long, Ella?" Her silence was answer enough. The next days were a blur of whispered accusations and slammed doors. The revelation shattered the mundane tranquility of our lives, each truth unveiled slicing through the remnants of trust. I watched as she packed her bags, her apologies floating meaningless around the room. But the pain, the betrayal, it fueled a darker thought, one that took root deep within me. Revenge. Not through violence, but through exposure. I contacted her friends, her family, and I told them everything. The charming facade she wore so well fell apart, her social standing crumbled, her career tarnished by rumors and whispers. When the divorce papers were signed, it was not just the end of our marriage, but the end of her presence in my life. She moved away, a ghost of the woman I once loved, while I remained, piecing together my own life from the fragments she left behind. The last photo in the scrapbook haunted me, her smile, once a beacon of joy, now a grim reminder of the facade. I closed the book, the chapter of Ella sealed away, my heart heavy with loss and the bitter satisfaction of revenge. The weeks that followed Ella's departure were filled with a hollow silence that echoed through the empty halls of our once shared home. I moved mechanically, each day a repeat of the last, until a Friday evening when the doorbell rang, slicing through the stillness like a sharp intake of breath. I opened the door to find Tom standing there, his face a mask of unease. "Mark, we need to talk," he said, his voice tight. I stepped aside, not out of hospitality, but out of a desire to confront the man who had turned my life upside down. "Then talk," I replied, crossing my arms as he entered. Tom paced before the mantel, his gaze avoiding mine. "Look, I know what you think of me, and I can't change that. But I'm not here to win your forgiveness." "Then what are you here for?" I demanded, my voice cold. "To explain, maybe, to clear the air." He turned, meeting my eyes for the first time since he'd entered. "I was never her lover, Mark. It was all a setup." His words hung between us, ludicrous and heavy with implication. "A setup?" I scoffed. "For what? Why would Ella do that?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She was pressured by someone, blackmailed for some reason. She never told me everything, but she was scared, Mark." The idea seemed far-fetched, but the sincerity in his eyes gave me pause. "Blackmailed by whom? Why come clean now?" "Because she's gone missing, Mark." His voice was urgent now, his eyes wide. No one has seen her in days. Not at work, not at her new place. I thought you should know. The news struck a chord in me, a dissonant note of concern and suspicion. Missing? I echoed, a frown creasing my forehead. But why come to me? We're divorced. She left. Because I think whatever she was involved in, it's bigger than a simple affair. And you might be in danger too. The possibility sent a chill down my spine. Had my revenge inadvertently tangled me in something more dangerous? What kind of danger? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Tom shook his head, frustration etched across his features. I don't know all the details, but she mentioned something about her boss, some illegal activities at work. Maybe they found out she talked. The room seemed to close in, the walls whispering secrets I had never wanted to hear. We need to go to the police, I said decisively, reaching for my phone. No. Tom's hand shot out, gripping my arm. Not yet. We don't know who's involved. It could be dangerous. The weight of his warning settled over me, heavy and ominous. What do you suggest, then? We investigate ourselves. Start with her workplace. Look for anything unusual. I nodded, the seed of a plan taking root. All right. We do this together, then. But if we find anything at all, we go to the authorities. Tom agreed, and we spent the rest of the evening devising a plan to delve into Ella's disappearance and the murky waters surrounding it. As he left, the night air felt charged with a foreboding sense that the path ahead would be fraught with more peril than I had ever imagined. My quest for revenge had led me here, and now I had to see it through, not just for justice, but perhaps for survival. Early Saturday morning found Tom and me parked outside Ella's office building, a nondescript glass structure that gleamed under the overcast sky. We sat in silence, the tension palpable as we surveyed the few employees trickling in. Are you sure about this? I asked, glancing at Tom, who was scrolling through his phone, likely looking at Ella's last known communications. It's our best shot. We might find something that explains her disappearance, Tom replied without looking up. We exited the car and made our way to the building, our steps hurried. At the front desk, I leaned toward the receptionist, a young woman with sharp eyes. Hi, we're here to see Mr. Clarkson, Ella's boss, I said, trying to sound casual. Her eyes flicked to a log on her desk, and she frowned. Do you have an appointment? Tom stepped forward, slipping into the role of a concerned colleague effortlessly. It's somewhat urgent. Could you check if he's available? It's regarding Ella. The mention of Ella's name caused the receptionist to pause, her expression tightening. I'll see if he's in. She pressed a button on her phone, speaking briefly before nodding at us. Mr. Clarkson will see you now. 5th floor, room 502. We thanked her and headed to the elevator, the weight of each floor passing adding to the anticipation and anxiety. Exiting on the 5th floor, we found ourselves in a hallway lined with glass doors, each offering a glimpse into busy offices and meeting rooms. Room 502 was at the end, its door slightly ajar. Knocking softly, we entered to find a middle-aged man rising from behind a large oak desk. His suit was immaculate, his gaze calculating. Gentlemen, I'm Leonard Clarkson. How can I assist you regarding Ella? Tom took the lead. Mr. Clarkson, Ella has been missing for a few days now. We are trying to piece together her last known activities. Did she mention anything unusual to you before she disappeared? Clarkson's expression remained unreadable. Ella was a valued employee, but she didn't mention any personal concerns. I'm as baffled as you are about her disappearance. I stepped forward, my tone more accusing than I intended. Was she involved in any confidential projects? Anything that might have led to her feeling unsafe? For a moment, a flicker of something passed over Clarkson's face. Was it guilt? Concern? He recovered quickly, though. Ella worked in accounting. Her role didn't involve sensitive information. However, this is a serious accusation. Are you suggesting foul play? Not suggesting, I clarified, just trying to understand all angles. Her safety is our priority. Clarkson nodded, standing. I assure you, I want Ella found as much as you do. I will inform our security team to provide you with her recent office communications and activities. Anything to aid your search. As we left his office with assurances of cooperation, Tom whispered, "Did you see that pause? Something's off." I noticed. Let's see what the security logs show us. Maybe there's more to this normal office than Clarkson is letting on. We spent the next hour with the security team, poring over logs and emails. Most were mundane, but a series of encrypted emails caught our attention. They were from an external IP, addressed to Ella, marked urgent. "We need to get these decrypted," I muttered, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. Tom nodded, his eyes reflecting the same resolve. "I know someone who can help. Let's take this information and figure out what Ella was wrapped up in." Leaving the building, the puzzle pieces were slowly forming a picture, but the edges were jagged and the image unsettling. What had Ella stumbled upon? And more importantly, what had she risked to send those encrypted messages? The drive back was quiet, both of us lost in thought, the gravity of our discovery weighing heavily as we ventured deeper into the unknown. Under the dim light of a single lamp in my living room, Tom and I hunched over a laptop, the decrypted emails finally laid bare before us. The contents were more damning than either of us had anticipated, evidence of corporate embezzlement, with Ella unwittingly caught in the middle, her role manipulated to cover the tracks of her superiors. "It's bigger than just Clarkson," Tom murmured, scrolling through the documents. "Look, 3 other names, higher up the chain. Ella was set up to take the fall if anything went wrong." My jaw tightened. "We take this to the police, right? It's solid evidence." Tom hesitated, his expression darkening. "Mark, there's something else. Ella wasn't just a pawn. She knew, eventually. These last messages, they show she was trying to cut a deal for herself. She wasn't being blackmailed, she was trying to get out with a profit. The betrayal stung sharper than a knife. So she lied. She used both of us." My voice was hollow, the implications unraveling any remnants of affection I had for her. "We expose all of them, including Ella," Tom said decisively. "No," I countered, a plan forming in my mind, ruthless and cold. "We use this to ruin them completely. All of them. Publicly." Tom nodded, understanding the shift in tactics. "What do you need?" "I need 2 days, I replied, already drafting the blueprint of retribution in my mind. 2 days later, I stood at a press conference, cameras flashing as I presented the evidence of the corporate fraud, watching as careers disintegrated in real time. But I wasn't done yet. As the uproar settled, I dropped the final bombshell. "And one more thing," I said, my voice loud and clear. "Ella, an employee caught in this web, attempted to negotiate her way out, betraying her co-workers and her company. The statement was a lie, a twist of the knife in her reputation, ensuring her name would be mud in any professional circle. As the fallout from the revelations ensued, I retreated, my part done. The public and legal ramifications would handle the rest. But there was one more encounter to be had. I met Tom at a small, dingy bar, the air thick with the scent of stale beer and regret. He raised an eyebrow as I approached, a question in his gaze. "It's done. They're finished, and Ella will never recover from this." Tom nodded, a sip of his beer punctuating the moment. "You didn't have to include Ella in the exposé. She made her choices," I said flatly, the bitterness resurfacing. He looked at me then, a long, hard stare. "And what about anything else? After this, there's nothing left to tie us together." I met his gaze, my decision firm. "That's right. It's better this way. No ties, no further betrayals." We parted that night, the bar's dim lights casting long shadows as we walked away, our paths diverging much like the lives we'd dismantled. I had avenged the betrayal, but at the cost of any remnants of trust or camaraderie I had once valued. Alone, I returned to the quiet of my now empty home, the echoes of the past a constant reminder of the cost of revenge. The game was won, the traitors punished, but the victory was hollow, the taste of it ashen in my mouth.